On the edge of a forgotten town, where roads ended and whispers began, a peculiar child named Celeste was born during a starfall, unlike any the world had seen. The stars didn't merely streak across the sky. They hummed, each one releasing a hauntingly beautiful note as they burned through the atmosphere. Villagers swore they could feel the music deep in their bones, as if the universe itself had composed a melody for this moment. But the moment Celeste cried for the first time, the symphony stopped. Her parents, humble farmers, didn't know what to make of the coincidence. "It's just a storm," said her mother, cradling the newborn. But the villagers whispered. They said Celeste wasn't ordinary. And they were right. By the time she turned 10, the evidence was undeniable. Celeste could hear things no one else could. The soft murmurs of clouds as they drifted, the sigh of trees in the wind, even the faint whispers of stars when the sky was clear. But the strangest thing was this: whenever she sang, the world listened. One evening, while Celeste was alone in the fields, she hummed a melody she thought was her own. The stars above began to twinkle in rhythm, like notes on a page. The melody grew louder, more complex, until the field was bathed in light. When she stopped, a single star fell, landing softly before her. It wasn't a star at all. It was a creature unlike any she'd seen, half light, half shadow, with eyes that burned like the sun. It didn't speak, but she understood it. Somehow the melody had called it. The creature bowed its head and opened its mouth. From it spilled hundreds of tiny glowing fragments that hovered in the air before her. Each fragment seemed to hum a note, creating a symphony. She reached out and touched one. In an instant, Celeste wasn't in the field anymore. She was standing on a bridge of starlight, suspended between galaxies. Around her, planets spun like dancers, their orbits forming patterns too intricate for human minds to comprehend. Beings of light walked past her, each one singing in a language she didn't understand but somehow felt in her soul. "Why am I here?" she asked, her voice trembling. One of the beings turned to her. It had no face, but when it spoke, its words formed pictures in her mind. "You are the conductor." The being explained that the universe wasn't silent. Every star, planet, and comet played a role in an eternal symphony that kept existence in balance. For millennia, the symphony had been flawless. But something had gone wrong. A discordant note had emerged, a sound so terrible it threatened to unravel the fabric of reality. The beings of light, known as the astral choir, had searched across galaxies for someone who could correct the symphony. And they had found her. "I'm just a girl," Celeste whispered, shaking her head. "Your voice awakened the fragments," the being replied. "Only the conductor can wield them." The fragments floated closer, each one pulsing with a different hue. When she touched them, melodies filled her mind, songs of ancient civilizations, of dying stars, of the first light to ever pierce the darkness. But one fragment remained dark, silent. The being's light dimmed as it gestured toward it. "That is the note of discord. To restore harmony, you must play it." Celeste hesitated. "What if I make it worse?" The being didn't answer. Instead, it dissolved into a burst of stardust, leaving her alone on the bridge of light. Celeste stood on the shimmering bridge, staring at the silent fragment floating before her. Its darkness was unnerving, as though it absorbed the light around it. She reached out tentatively, her fingers trembling. The moment her hand touched its surface, a deafening silence swept through the cosmos. The stars dimmed, the planets stilled, even her own breath seemed muted. And then she heard it. A single dissonant tone, low and haunting. It vibrated through her very bones, filling her with a deep, inexplicable sadness. She pulled her hand back, gasping, and the fragment faded into silence once more. "You're not ready." The voice startled her. It was sharp and cold, like the edge of a blade. Celeste turned to see a figure standing on the bridge behind her. Unlike the beings of light, this one was shrouded in shadow, with piercing silver eyes that seemed to cut through the darkness. "Who are you?" Celeste asked, her voice shaking. The figure smirked. "I'm your opposite, the conductor of chaos." Before she could respond, the figure snapped their fingers, and the bridge beneath her feet began to crumble. Celeste fell, spiraling through the void, her screams swallowed by the infinite darkness. When Celeste opened her eyes, she found herself lying on solid ground. The air was thick and humming with mechanical sounds. She sat up and saw an enormous planet, its surface covered in intricate gears and cogs that turned endlessly. "Where am I?" she muttered to herself. "This is Cantorum," a voice answered. She turned to see a tall figure standing nearby. It was humanoid, but entirely made of gleaming brass, with gears spinning where its heart should have been. Its eyes were glowing blue orbs, and it carried a staff that crackled with electricity. "You are on the clockwork planet, the heart of the Symphony," the figure said. "I am Arian, keeper of time." "The Symphony," Celeste repeated, trying to make sense of everything. "It's real?" Arian tilted its head. "Real is a relative term, child. The Symphony is existence itself, and you are the first mortal to set foot on Cantorum in eons." "Why me?" Celeste asked. Arian's eyes dimmed slightly. "Because the Symphony is broken, and only a conductor can mend it. But first, you must find the other fragments." Celeste frowned. "There are more?" Arian nodded and raised its staff. A map of the universe appeared in the air, shimmering with golden light. Several points of light flickered across it, each one pulsing with a different melody. "These are the fragments of the Symphony," Arian explained. "Each one holds a part of the song that keeps the universe in balance. Without them, chaos will consume everything." Celeste stared at the map, her heart pounding. "And the dark fragment?" Arian hesitated. "The note of discord is not meant to exist. It was forged by a force older than the universe itself. You must confront it, but only when the other fragments are united." Arian sent Celeste on her way, gifting her a small golden orb that pulsed with light. "This will guide you to the fragments," it said. "But beware. Others seek them as well." "Others?" Celeste asked. "The conductor of chaos," Arian replied gravely. "He will stop at nothing to claim the fragments for himself." Celeste's journey began on a planet made entirely of water, where she met Siren, a star-born wanderer who had been cursed to sing eternally to calm the storms of her world. Siren's voice was unlike anything Celeste had ever heard. Powerful, sorrowful, and enchanting. "Why are you here?" Siren asked when Celeste arrived. "I'm looking for something," Celeste replied. Siren studied her for a moment, then smiled faintly. "You're the conductor, aren't you?" "How do you know that?" "The stars told me," Siren said. "They've been singing about you for a long time." Together, they found the fragment buried deep beneath the ocean floor, guarded by a creature made of living water. Celeste sang to it, her voice weaving with sirens, until the creature calmed and allowed them to take the fragment. Arian sent Celeste on her way, gifting her a small golden orb that pulsed with light. "This will guide you to the fragments," it said. "But beware. Others seek them as well." "Others?" Celeste asked. "The conductor of chaos," Arian replied gravely. "He will stop at nothing to claim the fragments for himself." Celeste's journey began on a planet made entirely of water, where she met Siren, a star-born wanderer who had been cursed to sing eternally to calm the storms of her world. Siren's voice was unlike anything Celeste had ever heard, powerful, sorrowful, and enchanting. "Why are you here?" Siren asked when Celeste arrived. "I'm looking for something," Celeste replied. Siren studied her for a moment, then smiled faintly. You're the conductor, aren't you? How do you know that? The stars told me, Siren said. They've been singing about you for a long time. Together, they found the fragment buried deep beneath the ocean floor, guarded by a creature made of living water. Celeste sang to it, her voice weaving with sirens, until the creature calmed and allowed them to take the fragment.